Thanks for tuning in. This is the Sweet Cyclists. Today we're going to be looking at the Light Motion Vya Switch taillight. So here we have Light Motion's new Vya Switch taillight. This is part of Light Motion's Vya series of products, which include headlights and taillights with smart features. With the Switch, they've actually modified this to have less of the smart features and more user control. If we look over the specs, this is a $40 taillight. It's similar to the Vya Pro Taillight, however, it's $20 cheaper. It has the same 100 lumen output, and instead of it automatically turning on and off, you have a user-controlled button with 3 different modes. We have one constant mode and then 2 SafePulse modes. So you get the same runtime and actually a higher runtime on the lower SafePulse mode. So you get a lot of the same features. You get the USB receptor kind of built into the light itself as well. If we go ahead and start opening the packaging, I would want to also point out that this packaging is really well done, very minimal waste. So I want to thank Light Motion for being more environmentally responsive. You don't have to fight through multiple layers of plastic and kind of struggle with taking it off. So here's the light outside of the packaging. Really minimal. You get a user manual, really basic. You get the minimal packaging again, nice cardboard. You get the taillight. And you can see it's a very unique form factor with one LED on the rear, a big control button on top, and then the mount itself. You also get a rubber strap for attaching this to your seat post. Light Motion also offers GoPro adapters and seat rail adapters for additional cost. Now let's take a closer look at the Light Motion Vya Switch taillight. As I mentioned, the Vya series products from Light Motion are very innovative and unique. A lot of their headlights and taillights have smart features such as light sensors and motion sensors, as well as this very unique form factor with the USB directly built in. With the Switch, they've added user control back. So instead of the light determining which mode to be on based on the light conditions or automatically turning on and off, the user has control. They've kind of retained the same design, however, as like the Pro Taillight. However, without the light sensors or motion sensors, this is an opaque design. If we do a little 360 around here, you can see there's a single LED emitter with these vertical deflectors. If I mimic it being on the mount with my hand, you can see the beam pattern. It's very horizontal, and that's for better visibility on the road. It also helps with the side visibility as well. And with the side visibility, you can see the lens actually protrude slightly outside of the body, and that's to help kind of get more than 180 degree visibility. If we go around the side, you have a really basic, you can see the molding lines on here. That kind of makes the light look a little less professional. However, Light Motion describes the material of the light to be biorenewable, and that means it's not plastic or metal. The result is this kind of rubbery feel to it. And with the opaque design, it looks good from a distance, but up close, as I mentioned, there's little imperfections. On the side here, near the actual USB, you get these little half moon indicators, these half circles. These are alignment indicators. And this is one part I don't really like about the light. You have to line these up and then do a quarter turn to mount it. This is not very intuitive. So if you were to walk up to the light, kind of put it in this way, you'll see it won't actually rotate. And although I really want to like this mount because of the integrated USB, you don't need cables or anything, it's just not very intuitive, and I feel like I could possibly break it if I really tugged on this very hard. I think I would suggest the alignment indicators to be a little brighter, more obvious, or a different mounting style to avoid this kind of confusion. The USB receptor is really interesting. I haven't seen a light like this before where it's actually built in, so you don't need a cable. You have a little O-ring on here to ensure weather resistance. And then otherwise, the light itself, very simple. It's very elongated. If we take a second to look at some competitors, here's one from Topeak, the See Me 60 from Magic Shine. and the Phoenix BC05R. You can see the form factor is very different. The BC05R from Phoenix is very small, so they're actually pretty close in terms of size, while this one has a USB cable instead of the USB receptor built in. However, the form factor with this kind of elongated horizontal design kind of makes the light protrude out. I'm not sure if that's a positive or negative, but it is unique and it makes it stand out a little bit more. More traditional lights like the CME 60 have this kind of cob design now, which ends up with a larger surface on here. But in terms of visibility, it's kind of hard to say if one's better or the other. I think with the SafePulse and the 100 lumens on the Light Motion, it's plenty bright. What's more interesting is compare the Vya Switch to like a more traditional AAA battery powered light. This is a Topeak Red Light Mega. This is a really bright light with 5 LEDs built in. You can see the more traditional lights are a lot more heavy versus this kind of Vya Switch. And then in terms of profile, a lot larger as well. So it takes up a lot more space on your seat post, while this one would mount very easily. Let's also take a second to look at the mount itself a little bit closer. So this is kind of an interesting design. It feels kind of plasticky or rubbery. You get the little strap with a lot of adjustability. They do offer optional accessories for GoPro mounting or seat post mounts. However, with the one included, you just kind of have this rounded seat post mount. It is angled upward, which is interesting, as most seat posts kind of tilt backwards. This compensates for that. You don't have any adjustability otherwise. To use it, it's very standard rubber post. You're supposed to just simply pull it over these little posts and then flip it on top again to get this little extra security here. Inside, it looks really basic. And what I think it does, basically, it applies pressure to the light itself. So when the light is not attached to the mount, you can see it won't actually stay on. It's not until you have it in the mount and actually locked in that the light turns on and remains on. So that's a nice feature. So if you leave this in your backpack and it keeps hitting the button, nothing will happen. Here we have the Vya Switch mounted onto my Specialized Roubaix. This has a standard seat post. You can see it's very easy to attach. It's this basic rubber strap. Provides enough security that it doesn't really flop around, and you can use the different mounting holes to get a tighter or looser mount. What's interesting is the mount actually has an angle to it, so that results with the light being more parallel to the ground if the seat post is at the correct angle. You don't have any adjustability as far as up and down, and you don't get the additional kind of arrow post option that you would get with the Magic Shine. However, the design is very unique. You see it kind of sticks out of the bike for more of like visual prominence. With it on, you also get this side visibility as the lens kind of sticks out a bit. You have basically 3 modes that you can cycle through, and a long press to turn it on and off. Now let's take a look at the light output of the Vya Switch. There's 3 modes: SafePulse Medium, High, and Constant. With SafePulse Medium, you get 12 hours of runtime and 50 lumens. High gives you 100 lumens and 6 hours of runtime, while Constant is 25 lumens and only 4 hours of runtime. Putting the lights side by side, you can see SafePulse has a very distinctive flash. Now let's go over the pros and cons for the Vya Switch. I think one of the pros are the unique form factor. It has a very distinctive design compared to other lights on the market. The integrated USB connector is a really nice touch. You don't need an additional cable, and you can plug it in anywhere as you need it. And finally, the taillight has excellent visibility. With the 100 lumens and the SafePulse flash-in mode, it's a great light for both daylight and nighttime riding. Some of the cons, I think, are the visible molding lines. It looks a little bit unfinished. And also the non-intuitive low battery indicator. The only way you know the battery is low is with a special lower SafePulse mode, which is very difficult to distinguish between the other modes. And lastly, the unclear mounting alignment marks. I find myself putting it in incorrectly all the time since it only goes in one direction. Now that we've gone over the pros and cons, let's give the Vya Switch a rating. Out of 10, I would give it a 9. I think it's a very unique and bright light. I really like the form factor, and the 100 lumen output with the different SafePulse options is really great for visibility. I also like this as an addition to the Vya product line as a non-smart light, which gives the user more control. Thanks for watching this review. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel. Follow us on Instagram at the Sweet Cyclists, and visit our website at thesweetcyclists.com for more content. This is Sweet Cyclists reminding you to enjoy the ride.